All right, in this lesson, we're going to be discussing how to choose and convert different measurement units. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about developing measurement sets. So when you're talking about measurement, we're talking about things like length, capacity, weight, centimeters, inches, pounds, ounces, all that good stuff. Um, and we need to have a good understanding of um, how to approximate a weight. All right, so we don't want to say that the approximate or the approximate length of a pencil would be, a mile long, because obviously that is not true and is way off. Okay, so we have a conversion tool that is in your book, but I also have one online that's really good. It's at this particular um, web address. Otherwise, it looks like this, and it's a really, really good way um, to look at all the different things, and it gives you even some examples here. So for length, we have both the customary, which is what we use in America, and then the metric, which is commonly used over seas and pretty much everywhere else in the world. So when we're talking about length, we're talking about uh, feet, yards, miles. So we know that in 1 mile we have 5,280 feet. In 1 foot we have 12 inches, so on and so forth. So it goes through all the different types. We have length, weight, and capacity for both customary and metric. So this is a really good tool that you probably want to memorize. Okay. Some of these you already know, like you probably already know that 12 inches is in a foot. Okay. But you might not know that there are 16 cups in 1 gallon. Okay. So it's a very important thing to know, even for real life when you're measuring things, say for a recipe, or if you need a certain amount of, um, I don't know, if you're changing your oil in your car. Okay. All right. So that's that. All right. Otherwise, the second part of our lesson, other than just developing measurement sense, is actually to use those conversions to convert things from different measurements to other measurements. Okay, so for example, we have our first vocabulary word is actually conversion factors. And conversion factors equal their rates equal to 1. So for example, we have 3 feet equals 1 yard. Okay, now we often write this as a fraction. We would write 3 feet over 1 yard. All right, and that tells me that 3 feet is equivalent to 1 yard because that would equal 1. Okay, they're exactly the same. All right, we also have another vocabulary word that is important in this lesson, and that's dimensional analysis, and that is the process of analyzing units to decide which conversion factor to use. All right, so our first example, we have used dimensional analysis to convert 1.2 miles to feet. Well, we want to actually set up two fractions in order to do this. All right, so I have 1.2 miles. All right, and I'm just going to put this over 1 because we're going to need to do that for our fraction. Now, I want to convert it to feet. So my eventual answer is going to be something something feet. Okay, but before that, I need to actually figure out what I'm going to multiply or divide by. Okay, so it's going to be a fraction. Now, just like you would normally if you were multiplying fractions like 3/4 times 1/3, I could cross these out, okay, to make my multiplication problem easier because these are, um, you could cross cross them out. All right. You can do that same thing with units. Okay, so if I want to get rid of my miles, I'm going to put my miles on the bottom. That way, I can cross out my miles eventually. Well, I want feet, so I'm going to put the feet on top. All right, and then how many feet are in a mile? Well, it's 5,280. Cross out my miles, multiply across. Well, I know 1 times 1 is just going to equal 1, so I'm just going to worry about the numerator. So I'm going to do 1.2 times 5,280. And if I multiply that together, I'm going to get 6,336. And that would be my answer. That is how many feet are in 1.2 miles. All right, do another example. So suppose you need to convert a number of ounces to pounds. Explain how you would decide whether to use 16 ounces over 1 pound or 1 pound over 16 ounces. All right, so it all depends on how we're doing this. If we need to convert a certain number of ounces, so let's say I have 5 ounces, and I want to convert that to pounds. All right, so how am I going to, which one am I going to want to use? Well, I always want to remember I want to get rid of my ounces and think about my pounds. Okay, so in your notebook, what I'd like you to do is figure out which one would I use, 16 ounces over 1 pound or 1 pound over 16 ounces, and I will check that when I check your whisk in the next class. Okay. All right. So I also want to use compatible numbers to estimate the number of cups in 50 fluid ounces. All right, so this is an estimation problem that you'll probably run across a lot. So what you can actually do is you need to look back at that table and figure out, um, well, how many ounces are in a cup? Well, you should figure out that it would be for every 1 cup, we have 8 ounces. Okay, so then my first step when I'm converting 50 ounces to cups is I actually want to figure out what is the closest number to 50 that is divisible by 8. So we count up by our 8s, 1, 8, 16, blah, 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 blah. Eventually, we'll get to 48. Well, 48 is easily divisible by 8. And so we could say approximately 48 divided by 8 is 6. So approximately 6 cups are in 50 ounces. So that would be my answer. Okay? All right, so please come to class with any questions that you may have on any of this. Make sure that you really, really, really study that conversion factors, both in the customary and the metric. It'll make your life way easier when you're talking about conversion rates. All right, come to class with any questions.